do I start this first video? Because I think it's, all right. I recently pointed out on the Twitter machine recently did it, that that the way right-wingers say woke and talk about woke and the wokety woke, the way they bring up woke, it reminds me of that scene in Better Off Dead where the dad is having a conversation with John Cusack and looking at a book of like hipster slang, where he's like, it's like when somebody talks about, I think he's smoking the reefer or Mary Jane. You know what I mean? It's like, by the time woke has filtered down to where it's become this kind of like George Soros buzzword thing, you're like, nobody fucking says that anymore. Yeah, right on, Dad. That's exactly right. So you're bringing me over, Lane. That's right. Down. Right. So I'm a, huge fan of that movie. And on top of that, it just, you can tell when a talking point or a phrase is dying by the way it like eventually crowbars its way into the national zeitgeist. Like, it's like when an indie band shows up and everybody's like, this is awesome, I'm in on the new hotness, and then the minute they're on the radio, they're like, this is gonna be in a fucking elevator in 5 years. Like this band is doomed to to permanent status. I thought this was a cool inside thing with me and just my friends, but now, it's jumped the shark, and my mom doesn't even change the channel when the song comes on anymore. You know what I mean? So there are a bunch of things like that. There are also a lot of propaganda phrases that in a desperate attempt to try and to win over the other side of an argument. Because again, propaganda is only for reinforcing your own tribe's view of things, making sure they stay in line, and when, in an advertising sense, winning over the other side, by looking familiar or at least comforting to them. So one of the things that started floating around for a little while was, and I told everybody about this when it happened, that faux-aggressive, fake left people, the Door ilk, that crowd, and those, that are in their wake on social media, were floating the use of the word warmonger. And I don't know if anybody, got hit with that one. Like they tried war profiteering, and you're supporting war profiteering. Yeah, TYT does the same thing. Warmongering, like their followers will throw this around. And it's one of those things where like they really committed for about a week to like throw warmonger at those of us that say protested the Iraq and Afghanistan war. And by the way, tailored our vote to vote for people, whether it was John Kerry or Barack Obama or ultimately Joe Biden, who would get us the fuck out of those places. And Biden ultimately did, and I'm happy that he did it. Yet another reason why I'm a proud Joe Biden voter, not the least of which is, of course, lead pipes. Like that thing alone will change the direction of the country a few decades down the road, when we don't have people with prefrontal cortexes that look like Swiss cheese, like Marge, making our country's decisions. Anyways, with no impulse control. So yes, the fuck did Russia just invade Moldova? No, Moldova is already the border region of Moldova is already occupied by Russia. That just came up. That's a wedge area, right? Yet another. By the way, in the same way, they create a border dispute so that Moldova can't join NATO. So we'll talk about that in a bit. But so the word warmonger was in there, and you'd see it on Twitter. People would go, "Oh, you warmonger! Blah, 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 where's your peace? Blah blah peace, blah blah." And you're like, "Yeah, that's it's not pro peace to insist that someone who is in the process of being murdered not fight back." Pacifism when only applied to the person using self-defense, is indeed a defense of the aggressive violence of the other person. I think we can all kind of agree on that. Yeah. So, anyways, that said, you can tell that phrase has jumped the shark, and it's gotten all the way to Grandpa. And we know this because there he is. And the title of this Rumble video that he's put out is Agenda 47, which, by the way, that he's because he was 45, 46, 47, so he's going to call it like it's Agenda 21. Is he going to I'm calling this Operation Orange Helm? Yeah. I don't know why he doesn't grasp that a bunch of people will think this sounds very much like the UN stuff, right? Anyways, doesn't matter. Let me remind you, if anything about him upsets you, don't let it. The guy has fucked himself into a cocktat. He's on a downward spiral. This is a hard phase, and as you'll see in a moment. And I think there's something fucked up with his eyeball. I haven't watched this, but I saw a piece of it online, and I was watching it with the sound off, and he looked like Egg Chen from Big Trouble in Little China. You know, that guy always looked like he had one eye shut constantly. That's how it starts. Very small. Remember that guy? Awesome. Anyways, so this is the title of this. President Trump announces plan to stop the America Last warmongers and globalists. How do you stop the America Last warmongers, whatever, and globalists? Okay, which means Jews, but whatever. And also the warmonger part, especially when applied to like fishmonger, you know, it's the person who just hucks war for a living. And while at the same time, Trump wants to remind you ad nauseum that he built up our military and our nukes to the biggest and best and shiniest. He put all new backsplash on the nukes. They've all got fancy marble, the Greek kind that you have to ship over in giant slabs. If there's a single crack in it, you send it the fuck back. That we have Swarovski'd all of our nukes. He had he wanted them to be extra scary. I don't know if you know this, but Trump wanted our nukes to be really scary so that, you know, right as you see them coming, you're genuinely afraid, unlike when you see a normal nuke coming. And so he had Melania dress them up like her Christmas trees. So this is his plan. This is his plan. It's a plan. So there's going to be probably, I don't know, 5 points and a strategy, something. We'll see. But I'm excited. Anytime he has a plan. Now, there is a chance, because he's announcing a plan, that this video is 2 weeks long and never ends. So, buckle in. I'm gonna stop the warmongery.
World War III has never been closer than it is right now.
Nah. No, it has. Bay of Pigs. I mean, there was literally a couple of times where, and he seems quiet. I don't know if it's me. Hold on one second. I'm just going to make sure the audio is full up on there. But we've had a lot of close calls, I'm just saying, over the years, when the USSR was around especially.
We need to clean house of all of the warmongers and America Last globalists and the deep state.
Excuse me, it's America Last warmongers and globalists. It's kind of redundant to say a globalist who's America Last, because a globalist is for all things, all the time. Everybody does it. So there isn't even a first, much less the fucking last with the globalist. Like Earth first, I don't know where they're going to go. But it's America Last warmonger. Stick to the script. God damn it. How come this guy never...
The Pentagon, the
See what I mean about his eye, though?
State Department, and the National Security Industrial Complex. One of the reasons I was the...
the national security industrial complex. That's new. Not the military industrial complex, which sounds like, why must we fund these things that make war in other countries? No, the national security industrial complex. You mean like the company that built the fucking wall, or DHS? Yeah, his audio is low. I'm sorry about that, guys. I'm gonna try and remedy that if I can. Let's see, how do we do it? I don't know. I'll try.
America last globalist in the deep state, the Pentagon, the State Department, and the national security industrial complex.
Yeah, the national security industrial complex. Honest to God, that makes no fucking sense to me at all.
One of the reasons I was the only president in generations who didn't start a war
is because nobody starts wars anymore. You just use the authorized use of military force from the war on terror to do shit. Motherfucker, you got us going in Syria. You furthered that, and then you're like, I'd take the troops out of Syria, and you send them to Saudi Arabia to guard gas refineries.
That I was the only president who rejected the catastrophic advice of many of Washington's generals, bureaucrats, and the so-called diplomats who only know how to get us into conflict, but they don't know how to get us out.
Okay, reminder. We just watched yesterday where he gave his little speech at the 47 Club or whatever the shit that was, where he said that he never intended to get out of Bagram, ever. Ever. Why? Because it's an hour away from where China makes their nukes. So we were going to leave Afghanistan by staying in Afghanistan. Secondly, yeah, his right eye is like swollen shut. It's very strange. And the general idea of him like, I'm pulling us out of places. The only places he pulled us out of or threatened to pull us out of genuinely were places Russia wanted to go into, specifically Syria, and then to undermine the Germany in relation to NATO. Remember, he was pulling a bunch of troops out of there. Yeah, understand, like, looking back, it is impossible to view his moves favoring Putin and wedging NATO as anything other than an attempt to tee up Russia's attack on Ukraine at some point in the future. Whether it was the first year of his second term, where he was like, well, it just happened, we're friends, and it's their country anyways, we'll just let it happen, which he would have done. Or if they were going to do it right after he left or in his last year because he couldn't run again, and it would just fuck everybody else.
For decades, we've had the very same people, such as Victoria Nuland and many others just like her, obsessed with...
Oh, by the way, if you'll notice, he is all but quoting Jimmy Dore, Aaron Mate, Max Blumenthal, all these fuckers at the rage on behalf of the Wagner Group thing that was this weekend. They all go to Nuland. They all go to that like slice of the phone conversation where she's like, they're fucking falling apart. Who's a decent person? Who can we talk to that's that isn't going to be a war criminal that might take over this place if they want to stabilize it? Who could it be? And while they're having that conversation, Ukraine made up their own fucking mind. And the guy that they actually wanted didn't do it, didn't want to do it. The guy who was the head of the opposition. And then he ended up being like a temp for a month. Still had nothing to do with the elections after the fact. They're still pissed about that.
With pushing Ukraine.
And by the way, I mean the pro-Putin crowd.
Toward NATO, not to mention the State Department support for uprising.
First of all, pushing Ukraine towards NATO like fucking how? It didn't happen when Biden was in office. It hasn't happened the entire time he's been there. Did it happen under Trump and they just didn't talk about it? Was his State Department, was Pompeo whispering to Ukraine allegedly during the Trump administration, and that was driving Russia? That's what all the fucking prostate exams he was getting from Putin were about, was, well, you tell your guy to stop fucking with them, making them try to join NATO. It's fucking 10 years ago now.
In Ukraine. These people have been seeking confrontation for a long time, much like the case in Iraq and other parts of the world, and now...
Much like the case in Iraq? All right. First of all, you've all heard the, I think it was the Howard Stern interview where he said, you got to go into Iraq. He goes, yeah, I guess so, but you wouldn't like it. So, look, I don't care how you fucking feel about it. If you'd make the decision to go in, either justify it or shut the fuck up. Secondly, this is written almost identically, and probably Stephen Miller wrote this out because he's trying to appeal to that crowd, the Jill Stein, Tulsi Gabbard, Jimmy Dore crowd that was at that thing. That's all this is. This is basically, think of this as the video they would have played of him, at that event.
Now we're teetering on the brink of World War III.
We've never been closer, you said. How are we teetering on the brink? We've teetered before. We've teetered multiple times. We've had big teeters and little teeters on the brink of World War III so many times in my existence. And so if we're closer than we ever been, we got to at least be tottering now. If we're gonna in the teeter and the totter.
And a lot of people don't see it, but I see it, and
Well, yeah, yeah. Luckily, you're here to tell us. A lot of people don't see that things are dangerous right now because they're not enough, actually. So,
been right about a lot of things. They all say Trump's been right about everything. None of this.
No, they don't. I mean, that's not fair. That's not fair. Because I don't know who the fuck the they is in this situation. It could be just the they is the only they that matters, which is the sycophant weirdos like we saw asking him questions at that little club gathering he had.
Excuses in any way the outrageous and...
Excuses? Sorry?
But I see it, and I've been right about a lot of things. They all say Trump's been right about everything. None of this excuses in any way the outrageous and horrible invasion of Ukraine 1 year ago, which would have never happened if I was your president. Not even a little chance.
Not even a little chance. Yeah, it would have been over in a matter of days. Sorry. Like, his entire presidency was about helping Putin tee this shit up. Yeah.
But it does mean that...
And also, there is a thought that if he had won, it wouldn't have happened when it did, because COVID would still be raging and there wouldn't have done anything, and he would have gone, I wouldn't take those shots if I were you.
Here in America, we need to get rid of the corrupt globalist establishment.
The corrupt globalist establishment, which I'm pretty sure he means Mitch McConnell.
That has botched every major foreign policy decision for decades, and that includes President Biden, who... whose own people said he's never made a good decision.
No, that you're thinking of Gates, and Gates was full of shit.
When it comes to looking at other countries and looking at wars, we have...
It's not a direct quote. What was the thing? They said he was wrong about looking in the potty and seeing what the boom boom. So Gates said he's been wrong about every foreign policy decision he ever made. Which, by the way, he was against the surge because he wanted us to get the fuck out. He was right about that. Biden was very much right about that. He was also right in telling Obama multiple times, these fuckers are always going to tell you it's going to suck. They're always going to tell you they're 6 to 8 months away from solving this shit. Get the fuck out. That said, it's your decision. But I'm here to tell you, I've been around these guys for a long time. They're hammers. They think everything's a fucking nail. And sometimes you got to be the screwdriver, and that's your job. But hey, you make your decision, but I'm here to tell you, these generals are going to tell you the same bullshit. And what happened? Obama stayed in, he listened to him, and he tried to, half measure it because he was listening. He was trying to be accommodating to a lot of different people. And then Trump got in, same generals saying the same shit. And he was like, well, I don't want my poll numbers bad. So, and then Biden got in and they went, we'll just need another 8, we should extend this, knock off his deal, and we'll 8 to 10 months, we'll have this knocked out. And Biden was like, nah, I ran on getting us out. We're getting the fuck out. We are getting the fuck. Pack your shit. Everybody pack their shit. Get them the fuck out. For real this time. Nobody listened to me fucking 6 years ago. Everybody, we're getting the fuck out. And we're out. And by the way, also a reminder, this guy said as soon, like a day and a half ago, that he would have stayed and kept Bagram and parked our soldiers there forever.
To replace them with people who support American interests. Over our 4 years in the White House, we made incredible progress in putting the America Last contingent aside.
But yes, that was what we were doing. Not so much putting America first, but putting the America Last contingent aside. We might need it later. America Last contingent, stand back and stand by. We might need you.
Bringing the world to peace, and now we're going.
Yes, peace through pandemic. It's a play on the old system. You know, if you'll notice, there were wars had really started to, had slowed down. There was even trade battles went by the wayside because the whole fucking planet was locked down. Also, pink eye.
Going to complete the mission. The State Department, Pentagon, and national security establishment will be a very different place by the end of my administration. In fact,
we already saw the end of your administration. We've seen it. That's it. That was the end of your administration. There's no fucking way it happens again. Not ever. I'm just telling you. Run all you want. Push yourself to the front of the fucking party. Slaughter DeSantis. Shove yourself to the front of the line like last time. You're going to fucking lose. Biden's going to not only campaign in his basement, he's going to do it with his fucking feet up and a webcam just on the soles of his feet with "fuck Trump" written on each shoe. Thank you. Thanks for getting the ad time, guys.
My administration, it'll be a very different place, and it'll get things done just like I did 4 years ago. We
got everything done. We had COVID slowed everybody at the border, and COVID slowed down the war in Afghanistan. That could have got us out during COVID because our guys couldn't even train the Afghans. We could have used that as an excuse. We could have snuck out under the cover of COVID, but fuck that. I wanted to keep Bagram.
Never had it so good. We'll all.
Well, I don't know what the fuck is wrong with you guys. Sure, we entered a recession in February of 2020. Sure, it was created by monetary policy on his behalf. And sure, it was because of his unpaid for tax cuts. Sure, he's responsible for almost a third of our entire national debt in one fucking term. Sure, he is the only negative job growth president in, I think, last 9. I don't know, how far do we go back? Sure.
Also stop the lobbyists and the big defense contractors from going in and pushing our senior military and national security officials toward conflict, only to reward them when they retire with lucrative jobs, getting paid millions and millions of dollars. Take a look at the globalist warmonger donors backing our opponents. That's because they're candidates of war.
I see. Yeah, that's what it is. The Democrats are all about war. Like, we can't fucking wait. We've run on war. We want war. We're always wanting to balloon the military budget. We're cranking that shit up all the time. It's been a thing for a long time. Democrats especially. Bush, I don't know if you guys don't know this. Bush was like, I think we ought to go just into the camps of Afghanistan, not go any further. I don't think we should do that. And Democrats were like, no. Hit Iraq first. 7 other countries. Have you seen the Project for a New American Century? But yeah. I know it's a Republican organization, but we did the first draft for you. Yeah, they changed it a little bit. That's where the typos came from. But give this a read.
I am the president who delivers peace, and it's peace through strength.
How do you not give a lot of money to military contractors and defense contractors if that's your policy. You literally have to have the most enormous military. You have to outpace everybody else's military, period, end of story. So you have to, if it's peace through strength, you have to overwhelm everybody else. So you're just going to, the difference between him and, I guess, Democrats would be that he wants to balloon the military budget, but only with things we'll never use and that no one will get to use, even if they're allies or they're on our side, or we believe in helping them. That's our stick.
There was a reason we had no conflict. There was a reason we didn't get into wars, because other countries respected us. I entirely built, all right from the beginning, rebuilt our military.
Yeah, he totally rebuilt our military. How do you do that? Well, you pay big defense contractors a lot of money to build brand new shit, even if the old stuff works. I don't know. It sounds like military industrial complex to me. It sounds like they didn't even need a fucking war to make money when you were in there.
It's a big reason for that.
Yeah, it's a big reason for
They
that.
didn't want to mess around with the United States, and now they're laughing at us.
Well, they're laughing at you. I mean, obviously, he thinks America and him are the same, but
We could end the Ukraine conflict in 24 hours with the right leadership. At the end of my next 4 years.
By the way, my next 4 years. Dude, at the end of your next 4 years, you'll be exactly where you are now. On a hard fade at Mar-a-Lago, blathering into a camera. You're not going to be president. That's not happening again. It's not fucking happening. It is not happening.
Here's the warmongers and frauds and
Warmongerers. That's different. That's a different. The warmongerers. That's like, next he's got to say warmongrels and then warmonchichis. I'm not sure.
failures of the senior ranks of our government will all be gone, and we will have a new group of competent national security officials
who are hot and look like the chicks on like a first season of a new Law and Order show. And you know how I mean that.
who believe in defending America's vital interests above all else.
Yeah, that's one of the ways you would do that is effectively defeating Russia's military on the cheap, I would think. From a strategic standpoint, I don't think that's what's happening here. I think it's a it's a secondary, it's an off-label use in terms of our support for Ukraine. It just so happens to do that, like the heart medication that became a boner pill. It's kind of like that. Ukraine has a Russia-induced heart attack. America gave it a pill to help with that, and it turns out everybody got their erection back. That's a terrible analogy. I'm sorry.
Thank you very much.
And you're not welcome. This is effectively his cliff notes of what was said at that stupid rally, and it's no mistake that it came out just after it, so they'll all be mentioning it. Everybody who's on one of those things, like, look, Trump must have watched. He obviously didn't learn anything, or he would have stole jokes from dead comedians and quoted MLK. That's it. That's it. And by the way, don't forget cash only. You're watching Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide. Trump puts these things up.